So to get things kicked off, we are going to introduce J.R. Todd, NHRA race car driver, as well as head women's basketball coach at Delaware, Miss Natasha Adair. Welcome to the both of you. Thank you for taking the time out to be here with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So let's just jump right in. Natasha, what does it mean to you to be a Black role model to your players and to the kids?
Oh, it means everything. When I think about just kind of my role and my responsibility, um, every day it's an opportunity to teach. It's bigger than basketball for sure. It's just a vehicle. But for me, it's about making sure they're prepared for when they graduate. They're prepared for the real world. And so I do hold, this role and this responsibility at the highest level. And it's another way for me to pay it forward because it was done for me. I played at the University of South Florida, and Trudy Lacey was my head coach. And she was more than a coach. She was an example. She was someone that I never wanted to disappoint. I saw and heard a lot of her stories of just how she had to maneuver or what her struggles were on a daily basis. And so now sitting in that role, when I talk about getting that rebound or running after that loose ball, it's really about life. How are you going to separate yourself? How are you going to put yourself in a position to not win the game, but win that opportunity? And so for me, it's just being thankful and humble for this role. And every day, it's making sure that when I lay my head down at night, I know that they're better, they're prepared, and they are in a position for nothing but success.
That's amazing. And, JR, we just heard how Coach Adair talked about some role models and things like that. I know your dad was part of the racing community, but what types of role models did you have growing up, and what did you take from them that you put into every single effort every time you step into the car to be a role model yourself?
Like you said, my dad, he's the one that introduced me to racing. He was a dirt track motorcycle racer, flat track, and really good at that before I was born. And then once I came along, that kind of slowed him down. But growing up as a kid, I always wanted to be like him and just idolize him. He raced a lot there at our local track there in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and it seemed like he won every week. He had a big crowd of fans on the backstretch there, whether it's family or close friends, just cheering him on. And I loved that, as a kid, just wanted to be just like him. And once it got to the time to where I was old enough to understand what was going on and taking a like to racing, my parents really kind of shied me away from racing motorcycles and got me into drag racing. When NHRA formed the Junior Drag Racing League, I believe was the end of 1992. I was around 10 years old, and we got going there, going to our local track, which was probably 20 minutes up the road from Lawrenceburg, outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, and just kind of took everything that my dad instilled in me. Just work hard, set goals for yourself, and stick with it. And at a young age, at 10 years old, I wanted to be like the pros in our sport. And at that time, there weren't any, black drivers in Top Fuel or Funny Car out there winning and succeeding at that time. So, for me, that was like a little kid playing Pee Wee football or Little League baseball, wanting to make it to the pros, but you really never think it's going to happen. And then, the older you get, you kind of surround yourself with the right people and put yourself in the right places at the right time. And here we are today.
Yeah, so JR, I mean in other sports, there's a very healthy amount of diversity, but in racing it's kind of the complete opposite. So, when we say representation matters, what does that mean to you?
It means everything, it's funny. Once we have the helmet on, you can't tell if I'm a black, white, male, or female.
Hmm.
But when you get out and you're celebrating those wins, and they come up and tell you or remind you that you're the first ever African American to win a Top Fuel event, the first ever African American to win a Nitro Funny Car event, the first ever African American Funny Car World Champion. It's just like, wow, it's kind of surreal to me. And then you see the fan following at the back of your pit area. It means a lot because it gives minorities in the sport, somebody to look up to,
Right.
and somebody that they want to be like, and it gives them somebody to follow. So that means the world to me that I have a gathering of fans that look up to me, so to say. Like I said, it seems surreal because it seems like I was in their shoes not that long ago as a kid, looking up to the pros and greats in our sport.
Interesting. Now, Natasha, we just talked about representation. Student athletes
Yes.
on in the women's basketball realm, 43% of the students are black athletes, black
Right.
basketball players, but only 17% of the coaches are black.
Mhm.
How's it feel, one, to be a part of that small portion of coaches, head coaches that are black, but how do you feel it needs to change in order for that to grow and for that gap to start shrinking?
Well, I think we talk about it. It's representation, but I think you have to start in just making sure that we're prepared. On my staff, I take pride in hiring former Black players. Okay, I have three former Black student athletes that I've coached on my staff, and that's intentional. Not just because that they're African American. It's because that they were phenomenal players when they played, very loyal, very trustworthy. They deserve these opportunities. But now it's up to coaches who are in my role. That 17% that you're talking about is to make sure we continue to grow them and encourage them to now transition one day as I scoot over, that they are prepared to take this seat. And so it's about the preparation. It's about making sure we are bringing awareness to the 17%, but just encouraging them in this profession that they can too be, that example. But representation matters. For me, I sit here because I had a coach who looked like me, a coach who poured into me, a coach who was the example for me. And so I do encourage that. I know with our coaches, we're constantly putting them in situations to think like a head coach, to give them roles and responsibilities. I was an assistant for 14 years, and I was very intentional about learning what was behind closed doors, asking the tough questions, asking for these opportunities. And I vowed that when I get in this seat, that I'm going to make sure that I give my coaches the opportunity so one day they can live out their dream. But representation matters for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially given past recent months, sports and politics have kind of crossed over significantly, and we're talking about student athletes. So, what kinds of things have you told your players about just making sure that they have a voice and are impactful as more than just that?
Well, I'll tell you, these last, I'll say, 8 to 10 months um, have been such a phenomenal just growth period for our group. I'll take you back to the summer when there was a lot of unrest around the murder of George Floyd. And as a coach, you have young women who are very engaged about what's going on in the world and what's going on in the community. And immediately, I had to act. We got on a Zoom call, and I only asked two questions. And it was, how are you feeling? And what do you need from me? And they just said, Coach, we have so many emotions, but we need guidance, and we need an opportunity to speak. And so that kind of steamrolled. We were able to talk about what they were feeling. They wanted to take action. They said so many schools and so many other programs are just putting out written messages. We want to do something tangible. We want to affect change. And I will tell you, the size of our state is really small, so you can reach out and touch a whole lot of people. And our athletic director, Chrissy Rayrock, was right there with us. And we were able to meet with the Attorney General, Kathy Jennings. We were able to meet with Governor Carney, and our players drafted letters to all the mayors here in Delaware and talked about invoking change within the police system, just education and awareness. And I will tell you, Executive Order 41 was passed um, as a result of our players writing letters. And now in the state of Delaware, the chokehold is banned, the excessive use of force is banned. And so, as a head coach, to be able to know that, you know, I helped empower our student athletes not only to use their voice, but to make a difference in a community in which none of them are from. I don't have one player from the state. That lets me know how important it is. And we've taken that a step further. They have done so much on campus. We started a university diversity task force led by our student athletes, a voting initiative. And so I tell you, where we are in our season, we're first in the conference. We're in a very great place, but that started in the summer as we built trust with one another, and we just built this strong bond. So making sure the student athletes have a voice and empowering to do so has been just a very bright point for me.
That's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. And for Jr. for you, it's a simple question, but it's probably comes with a lot of magnitude. Do you ever realize that within your community, you are Black history? Where does that resonate in your mind that every single time, you put on your suit, you put on your helmet, you get in your car, you're making Black history?
Mhm.
Like I said, it's still kind of surreal to me, but at the same time, you got to realize that you're doing things like that and, understand that you're setting an example for, the minorities that are looking to get into, racing or NHRA drag racing and try to be that good example. And sometimes it's tough, when you have down days at the track, things don't go your way, and just kind of understand that you're being that role model, setting that good example, like you said, and setting being a part of history. That's the coolest part is trying to be a trendsetter in drag racing. I like checking off those boxes, being the first one to do this, the first one to do that. Now I just want to keep winning and keep winning championships, and not only be the first Black to do this, to do that, but be the best ever in our sport. I mean, that's my goal.
To both of you, and we'll start with Natasha. You talked about having those role models, being those role models. When you're making decisions, knowing that you are this figure of positivity and your athletes are looking up to you on a daily basis, you know, how does that make you carry yourself a little bit differently on campus, off campus, and just in everything that you do, starting with Natasha?
Well, I think again, it's just who you are to your core. For me, it's my family. For me, it's the foundation. And so I am an example of what my mother and father have instilled in me, and it's being loyal, it's being trustworthy. For me, it's everything I do is by faith, and so I don't have to be any different when the lights are on or off, or if I'm on camera or not. My players know that I'm going to show up for them. I lead with my heart, sometimes to my detriment, but I do. I am my child. But I just I want people to know that they can do it. I want my players. I tell them every day they're rock stars. There's no limit to what they can do, but they have to work. We talk about our motto this year is AOW. It's actions over words. It's what we see. It's who we are, and that is the foundation of just everything that I stand on. And it's with faith. It's with work. It's with love, and so um, I don't have to be different. And even in college, I guess I don't know. That was just I was the leader. I was the captain. They called me Grandmama. I think it was after Larry Johnson, but then it stuck. I was just kind of the mother hen, and so um, my pastor says I have a gift of healing, and so when you are able to walk in your purpose, then you see it. And my job is just to make sure I impact and touch as many lives as I can to make sure they go out in this world and make a difference.
Jr. Same question to you. Just how does being that role model impact you, and how does it make you maybe carry yourself a little bit differently?
Uh, for sure, like you said, having good, family values to start with. I mean, my dad, my mom, they instilled in me just to be like trustworthy, loyal, and I feel like that I kind of carried those along the ways with the different teams I've been with, and then work hard. Number one, if you want to be the best, you got to work hard to get there, and I've definitely had my struggles along the way to get to where I am in the sport now. I mean, there's times I wanted to just quit and give up. I mean, it's tough when you get denied ride opportunities or sponsorship deals fall through, and you think, man, what do I got to do to get to where these other guys and girls are in the sport? And it's a tough road, but once you get there and you succeed, it makes all those tough times worth the while. So a lot of patience is what I can tell everybody out there that wants to get to the top level in racing or any sport for that matter. I mean, there's probably going to be some hurdles along the way, but just set a goal for yourself and stick with it. And I'm definitely living proof that anything can happen if you're willing to work for it.
That's great. Really appreciate you guys taking the time out. That's all the questions that we had for you today. Is there any other words of wisdom or anything you would like to leave us with before we let you go?
I
Well,
think I'm good.
I kind of want to just talk. Can I talk about what Black History kind of means to
Of
me?
course, of
Absolutely.
course. We'd love to hear
Okay.
that.
Well, to me, it's a celebration of accomplishments of African Americans through their perseverance, through pain. To me, Black history is victory. It's courage. It's triumph through oppression. Um, Black history is just stories told and untold, um, just about African Americans and their contribution, their bloodshed, their sweat, their tears. You, we are the fabric of this country, and I'm excited to be a part of that. You know, being the first Black women's basketball head coach at the University of Delaware, that's an honor. And I'm so proud of that. Being the first Black head coach in any sport when I was the head coach at the College of Charleston in 2012. You know, we talked about being the first and just the process of getting there. But for me, my parents are Black history. They've been married over 50 years, and the Black family and the strength of the Black family is very important. My brother, who's a delegate for the state of Maryland, his whole mission is about empowering young Black men. My sister, who is a chief diversity officer for the FDA. So within my family, I have so many examples of first, of pioneers, of history. And so Black history to me isn't just one short month out of the year. It's who I am and who I'm proud to be.
That's incredible.
Well
Uh,
said.
yeah, for sure. Jr. Any parting words for us before we let you go?
Man, it's hard to follow that, but yeah, I mean, Black History Month is definitely special, and just don't let anybody hold you back. I mean, no matter, like I said, whether it's racing or women's basketball or anything in life, just if you think you can do it and believe you can do it, then go for it. I mean, set a goal for yourself, and the sky's the limit for sure. And just don't let anybody out there hold you back by any means.
Yeah, and you know what? You guys may be the first, but we all got to make sure that you're not the last. So I think that's important
Yep.
too.